Okay, we're just now waiting for this to dry. It's almost there. I'm getting a little bit of paint on it. So I'm going to put it off to the side. Now I'm going to look at the images that I want to keep and use in this transfer method. This is the perfect time for it. So I wanted to use this one, but I think I'm going to actually paint it on myself. So I'm putting that on the side. This is definitely one I want. I chose this image because it reminded me very much of the images I saw in the Google SketchUp. Now, I want to clip very close because when you do this transfer method, even though the white is disappears, so to speak, it can still leave a bit of a halo shape around it. So I'm clipping as close as I dare without losing any of the image. There we go, so I got that one, I'm putting that off to the side. Another image I wanted was this car, and again, because I want it to focus just on this image, I'm going to clip nice and close to it. And then there's these images here. Now I'm not going to use this one because if you notice, it's not reversed. I thought it was, but this one was. So I'm going to cut this one out and I'm going to reprint the other one. Because when I do this method, like as I said before, I want to make sure that my images are the reverse of what I want them to see. Now, even though this canvas is still a little wet, I can see a bit of a shine there. I can still sort of plan out where I'm going to put these images. So like I'd like that image there. Let me bring this down, somewhere around there. And this image, I'd like to go in this direction. Right through the middle, right along where that one point is, so it goes right towards that corner. Like that. Put this in. Actually, it'll be more like that. And then my car. I wanted the car in there because of Chrysler. And I still have space down below, if you remember, in my design. Probably even put that right there. For the door design over here, and for my mimic shapes right over here. Now the text is going to fit along there, and everything looks really good. So we just have to wait for this to dry. Alrighty, we're ready to do our transfer method. I was just waiting for everything to dry, and I took it upstairs and I blew it under the air dryer for a bit, and everything's good. So, as I said, I'm going to be using this one, and I'll plan to place it over here. I need to use a gel medium and a nice wide paint palette. Now, I've got two of them, and there's a reason why I have two. One of them I'm going to use to smear on the gel medium. Just give it a nice stir first. And think of this like icing. So I smear it on, nice layer over exactly where I want to place my image, and make sure that it's wide enough. You actually want this area to be larger than your image. So I'm just going to compare it. And I'm missing some at the bottom and I'm missing some at the top. So there we go. So that was my first paint palette. This is palette knife. This is my second palette knife. So there's my triangle that I want to match up. You start in the middle and you push the image outwards. Just as I'm looking at this, I don't like how the end is, so I'm going to trim it that way, and I'm going to trim it this way to more match the lines that I've also created in here. There we go. Okay, so you start in the middle and you very gently, very steadily push outwards. You want to get rid of all the bubbles. The thing is, I'm not sure if you can see that on the video, but I can see where the bubbles are. Okay, now my palette knife is going to get messy, so I'm going to use a J-cloth. I want you to watch what I do with this. I'm going to scrape this off away from the image, away from my photocopy, and very carefully scrape it off here, wipe off my palette knife. Remember, I don't want to get the gel medium onto the back of my photocopy. If it's on the back of my photocopy, then it's going to be harder for me to remove the paper when it's ready. And I want to remove the paper. I want to get rid of it because that's part of having a transfer method. Now, very carefully, you want to keep rubbing the area to get rid of all of the bubbles. Because if there are any bubbles, the image won't transfer. It'll just be blank. And I really want to see the lovely details that were part of this drawing. Now for you, the main image will be, or should be, your one of an image based on, or pardon me, an angle from one of your Google SketchUp designs. Now it's acrylic paint, so I can just wipe it with this damp cloth. So I don't want too much extra around. I'm very careful not to go over the photocopy. Right. So that looks pretty good. Oh, just there. Always keep checking, because once you stop, you really can't go back. Another thing I found out while doing a lot of these is make sure you go in different directions as well. It really helps though working on a panel rather than on a canvas, where the canvas can spring back on you. There we go. So now I will be putting that aside. It has to stay untouched for at least overnight. Longer if you can. 24 hours is super. So now is the time to do all your cleanups, wash all your brushes, make sure everything is clean, because if it dries it won't come off, and it's an acrylic base, so it's important that you take care of your materials appropriately. So alright, so we will check back in about 12 to 24 hours. Okay, so it's now been overnight, and now I'm going to take my handy dandy water bottle spray. This is just regular tap water, doesn't matter temperature, and you spray. You spray the area, the back of the paper, and if everything went well, you're going to start noticing things like this happening, where it's starting to not pock as much. Let me see if I can change the lighting a bit. And you rub. And then what will happen, if everything goes well, is that your image will be transferred onto the canvas. Now, it does make quite a bit of mess. Respray if you need to. Now, if you have something that has a lot of color, that color will be affected or impacted on by the color behind it. So you can see here, in my photocopy, this was white, and now it's taking on the colors, or it's showing through the colors that were on the canvas. And remember that I reversed it, made sure that this was a mirror, so there's my 32 US. Written correctly, I'm happy to say. And you keep on rubbing, and you rub, and you rub, and you rub. Nice thing is this is a panel. If I was on regular canvas, then I would probably need to put something behind the canvas to give it support. Alright, so I'll probably speed this up. Enjoy. Okay, so there you are. Now, one thing I noticed when using this transfer method is that even though it looks like all the paper's been rubbed off, once it dries completely, there might be another film or layer to it. So just keep rubbing it gently. You can even see now I still have little pieces coming off again if I work at it. Like that. That transfer's worked out better than I thought. I'm quite impressed. Now, over here, let me zoom in for you. You'll notice that with this truck, with this car, there's some areas in here and in here and in here where it's rubbed off some more. And if I keep rubbing it, I'm going to just make it look even more distressed. But you know what? Thinking about it, I like that. I like that antiquing sort of feel to it. Keep in mind that my building, the Chrysler building, was built in the late 1920s and early 1930s. And so we're talking about quite a while ago, almost 90 years ago. So the whole feel of old and you know, a little bit of tarnish, I think will go a long way what I'm trying to describe here with the building and the description. All right, now I'm about to go to the next step, which is wait for that to dry, and then I'm ready to add my textures. Pardon me, my other text. So I'm probably going to add that text along here. I also have an area here where, if you remember in my proposal that I suggested including in some samples of the colors and even include this detail from one of the doors from the interior. I didn't put the second stamp in, but there wasn't enough room, so I'm good with that. And I think I might even take up more of the room here than I thought I would for the text. And the text I'm going to take right from the research that Mr. Hunsberger and I collected on the building. And there you go. And that's the transfer method. Very simple, very straightforward. The one thing you need to keep in mind, or a few things that you need to keep in mind, of course, are timing, because it has to sit overnight to be completely effective. It's the amount of rubbing that you do and how closely you clip, especially for a black and white image like this. All right, thank you.